in their hair and stuff, don't they? Sorry.
Good. Yeah, no, keep going, man.
Don't they
I
use
like it this way.
don't they use omnis in their hair and in various different places when they're doing theater stuff?
I believe so.
Yeah,
yes.
but we can't talk about that, you know. Oh no. Oh,
so I mean, I could see
there's a good way to start the show. We can't talk about
the old way
Yeah.
the sun doesn't shine. That's what I was talking about now. Now I'm involved in the show, so of course it's where the sun don't shine. You know, what can I say? You know, hey, there it is. But you know, that's the way it works. Life is like that, you know. And by the way, speaking of life, welcome to our 210th consecutive meeting of Thinking Out Loud with Friends, of course. Thanks for coming. Everybody, you know, you're an intricate part of the show. And just remember, everything you hear is an opinion. You could come in early if you want to be a part of it. Just let any one of us know. Remember to give us a thumbs up, and remember to click the like button as well, wherever it is. And we're everywhere you could be found on social media. So if you're watching us now, oh, by the way, we're back on Facebook. You know, somebody had hacked my account. If you remember, 2 weeks ago, we were there. Then we weren't last week, but we're back now. Anyway,
that was a nice birthday present, right? Wasn't it, Jan?
Yeah, I thought it was a great birthday present, you know. You know, and the thing is, what I found is that, you know, there is no democracy when it comes to Facebook. They make the decision. They cut you off, and that's it. Boom, you're done. You know,
I've been in jail there so many times, it's ridiculous.
I can't understand why, Bruce.
Oh, I know. You of all people, man. We volley back and forth quite often. You have to know, though, Jan, I love you dearly.
Me too.
We don't agree on a whole lot of things, but
that's because I'm such I believe in all these conspiracy theories. That's why. That's why, you know.
Isn't it funny how all these conspiracy theories have come true?
Oh yeah. Really,
but you know what?
True.
You're a good man, and I think the world of you, and it's just cool. So
Kenny Newman,
because I was very surprised.
Before you go away, Kenny Newman, who's taking your space in Vegas while you're in London?
Yeah, who's in your theater?
Is he still here?
I think he froze. He was so dumbfounded by the question, he just froze up.
No, maybe he had to go to the bathroom.
He froze quite a bit ago. I think it's hotel internet.
Well, he's all the way from London, came live from London, you know, so it's really cool. So anyway, yeah. So, I wonder who was in his theater, but maybe nobody. What the hell? You know, they're back. I mean, it's amazing what Manilow's been able to accomplish in his lifetime, and especially now. It just seems like at 80 years old.
Is he 80 now? God, that's just unbelievable.
80. It might even be older. And by the way, who was it that went to go see the Stones? Oh, it was Kurt who went to go see the Stones. And Mick Jagger is like as spry as he's ever been, according to what I'm understanding out there.
Isn't that amazing?
And they're on a Yamaha PM 4000.
Yeah, they're
really
on a 4K.
A 4K?
They're on a 4K.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can you believe that? That's insane.
Wow.
So take that, Digico.
So I have to tell you guys, in case anybody else has had this experience, since I've seen you guys last, I've done 4 shows on the DM7, and I'm telling you, it took a little getting used to, but it is a nice damn console.
The only time I ever got to mix on a 4K was for Tough Man. There was a boxing series once upon a time called Tough Man. You pay $50 and you came into the ring, and if you were the last man standing, you won the pot at the end of the night. And I used to mix. I got brought into the fold to do Tough Man, and I was the first person that actually got all the tracking right for the editors back in Los Angeles. So I got to do Tough Man until they left. But the 4K was my desk of choice, or the desk that was provided to me.
In its time, it was a great console.
It was a great console, and now they're doing the Rolling Stones on that same desk.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Even the 5,000, they didn't do too many of them that I know of, but I mixed on a 5,000 a couple of times. Jan, did you see many of those?
No.
We got into digital
at all.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, my biggest problem with the 5K was I had to prop it up in the back because it was so damn deep I couldn't reach it.
You couldn't reach the top of it.
Yeah, and I am not a small guy. I'm 6 feet, so but I could not reach.
Yeah, you're trying to get to the head amp gain, and you're like, you got to stand on an Apple box just to reach the head amp gain.
Yep. Yeah. Isn't that funny? Yep.
Plus, you needed 4 to 5 guys to tilt it up until they came up with the easy tilt stand.
Oh my God, it was so heavy. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You know, the only thing heavy, I think, was the ATI Paragon. That was a huge board. I mean, they couldn't even fit it sideways into the truck. They had to put it, you know.
So, Jan, are you seeing a lot of CLs and QLs coming in since the M7 or since the DM7 has been, you know, more widespread now? I figured people be selling their CLs faster than hell.
No, what I'm seeing right now is the SD10s. People want to get rid of the SD10s.
Really?
And the SD7s. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing people
for the newer Digicos.
Yeah.
Mm.
The new quantum boards, you know, I personally don't understand the floor of the pricing. In other words, it's now so expensive to be in the sound business. It doesn't make any sense to me anymore.
It's always been that way, Jan. What are you talking about? You be in the professional audio business, it was 4 times the price of a consumer piece to be able to have broadcast quality professional audio equipment was minimum of 4 times the price.
Yeah, but you know what?
Somewhere else.
Those of us that worked with the video department all the time, at least I can say we can get 10 years out of our gear a lot of times, and video guys shit's obsolete cameras and video projectors in like 3 years.
Yeah,
if that long, if that long,
and that shit. Long. Yeah, and I'll tell you, man, I would hate to be in the video business because you're constantly turning gear.
Yeah, well, everybody's looking to go to 2110 these days. It's crazy.
Real.
Yeah, but the reality is there's nothing you could do with those projectors or cameras. They've become obsolete even for the consumer market.
Yeah, you give them to high schools.
That's not true. That's not true.
No, it is.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. There's a lot of people out there that still have all that old stuff that works just fine. Look at Kurt. Kurt's right there. He's going to tell you about all the gambles that he has that work just fine.
No. We're not talking about.
No, we're talking about audio. We're talking about video. Video.
We're talking about video now.
We're talking about video. Okay, so you got to maybe possibly recap some power supplies once in a while. Video is all discrete.
Audio gear lasts a long time.
When you talk about projectors, okay. So, and I was just talking to a friend of mine who knows nothing about the business, and the size of like an Ida 4 projector was so big, it was like the size of a Volkswagen bus. Now you could put out that same amount of lumens in 1080p in a projector that's the size of a toaster. And wasn't
the Ida 4 projector a 3-color projector?
It was a 3-gun, wasn't it? Yeah.
That's why it was so big, because it was a 3-color projector. It was 3 projectors in one box.
Yeah, I think it was water cooled or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. What I'm saying to you is that the technology of the projectors has dramatically improved. They've gotten lighter, smaller, and they've gotten more definition. And
they
nobody
figured out
wants
how to make
one
a
of
laser
those.
work.
Yeah, exactly. So now all those analog projectors are basically, excuse me, yesterday's news. So nobody wants. You're not going to rent
once they figured out how to make blue LEDs, lasers became like gold. It was like they could take that part of the color spectrum and make it fit within our eyesight.
So when I was at AVHQ, I had a budget every year to buy audio gear with, and I was always up against the video department because they'd spend, they'd have huge projectors that were $250,000 each, and they'd be obsolete in 3 years. They had to get their money back on the rentals in 3 years so they could go buy the next thing and then discount the hell out of the old ones. And I used to tell, Doug, I used to say, I want to spend $250,000 on a line array rig when the JBLs first came out. And I said, and that's going to last me 10 or 12 years. And I said, there's no better investment than audio gear when you're looking at it against video gear, because you got to make your money back on the video stuff really fast. And I was there 18 years, and it was I was constantly chasing.
Yes.
It was called audio visual headquarters, but audio was definitely not first. And I tried so hard, and we had a lot of really great gear, but boy, I'll tell you, it was a pull all the time.
It's still that same today. Audio is not first.
Yeah. Until somebody doesn't like it, then it's the most important thing on earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's first today?
Oh, there he is.
Because the price to buy it versus the price they can rent it for is so great. They can rent that shit for so much money. It's like printing money when you buy LED.
Hey, so Kenny,
Well,
so
the
you're
challenge
back.
with the LEDs, the challenge with the LED walls is that there's a lot of challenges, but man, they depreciate so quickly. The LED walls,
Is that
because
just
they're
amazing,
constantly coming out with newer ones and better ones and everything.
So my dad used to do multi-image. He was a commercial photographer for Boeing, and it was contracted to the military and NASA and all this other crazy stuff. But he used to do multi-image shows for the Boeing space division that was contracted with NASA, and also with for BCS when Boeing Computer Services was like a brand new thing and kind of like IBM. And they would stack slide projectors and focus them so that they would line up. And he'd use a TAC 4-track quarter-inch tape machine, and the left and right, like channel 1 and 2. I remember this as a kid watching it prep all this. Channel 1 and 2 would be the soundtrack. Channel 3 would be the narration, and channel 4
was clock.
Was a little beep that would advance the slide projector, and he'd have to program where the beeps were. Like, man, he had a little button thing that made a beep and recorded it, and then he had a little 4-channel Shure mixer with the rotary black knobs on it. Whatever the 40 whatever it was, I don't remember.
Probably the
M67 gigs. And it's funny because I've ended up in some of the same ballrooms in Seattle where he used to do those shows when I was a kid, and now I'm loading in with line arrays and stuff like that. I wonder if I should start
second generation AV. Second generation.
Start a slide projector and TAC Facebook group.
Yes,
I would be.
You know what?
Miles Capper would join that, because Miles used to do, right?
I have a 7.5-inch reel to reel.
Kurt, I was doing audio for slideshows for staging techniques from 80 to 88, and we did so many Boeing shows in Seattle. I might even have bumped into your dad, because we used to do 30 projectors, 30 projector slideshows.
That's where they sourced it. It was Staging Techniques. That's like the first company I ever heard of when I was like 12.
Well, I was the West Coast sound guy for them from 80 to 88.
Oh, you probably worked with my dad.
I'm sure I did. That's small world.
Could you imagine lining up 30 projectors?
Oh yeah.
Could you imagine lining up 30 projectors? There was probably 15, because the other 15 were the backup. It was there. So every projector had a backup.
They had to stack them on scaffolding.
They had stackers that the projectors would, right.
Yep.
And the Dove X would go underneath, and the
sounds like a nightmare to me.
It was a total nightmare. And I'll tell you, here's what one of the problems that we had. We used to do a show for IBM for the building architect division, and we used to do these 30 projector slideshows. And I don't know if you remember Dave Pentecost, but he was one of our tower guys, and they do these shows where in the middle of the slideshow they'd have to change all the stackers. They'd have to change all the trays on the stackers, right? Because when you're moving that many slides, you're doing like 2,000 slides a minute to music. Right? It looks like a movie. It looks better than a movie, actually, if it's done right.
It looks way better than a movie.
Yeah, and it looked way better than video too. I couldn't even believe how dynamic
it was. Analog. It was real.
Yeah. And so what happened once was
Fred, can you say that again really loud?
It was analog. It was real.
So during the show we had a slide.
It wasn't sliced up into our digital parts of today's technology. It was analog. Do you remember a technology called a show scan? Have anybody of you ever heard of show scan? It was 120 frames a second.
I've heard of it.
I heard of it, yeah.
Unfortunately, the film couldn't go through the projectors reliably, so it never went anywhere. But 120 frames per second. Could you imagine an analog film-based?
We did a demo for that once.
That would do 120 frames per second in 70 millimeter.
70 millimeter, yes, 70 millimeter.
70 millimeter.
IMAX?
That's just.
So
how fast is IMAX?
I don't know how fast. Is it 60? What's film? 24? Video's 30, right? Right.
It's 24 or 30.
Right.
All it has to do is elude your persistence of vision, right? All it has to do is go fast enough so that the human eye can't perceive the frames that are going by.
Let me tell you what we did. We had a demo using ShowScan, and we took 100 seats, like on on an angle, right? What do you call it? Theater like that. And we put them in a sound stage, and I put 10 subwoofers underneath the floor. And then back then we had Myers MSL3s. We did MSL3s on each side, and we did the whole system in surround, right? And so what they did was it was a commercial for Bridgestone racing tires. So they put cameras, they mounted cameras on this like a Lamborghini or something. God, this was like in the 80s, so it's hard to remember. And they raced down through the Alps with cameras on this Lamborghini, and then they made it into this show scan stuff. So when they brought the audience in, and they says, we're going to take you for a ride on Bridgestone tires, and they sat them in their seats, and they played this 7-minute video that took up this mondo reel. The stuff was so loud, but everybody got upset stomachs because when you go over the bumps in the road, and they were going so fast, and everybody in the audience was going like this, and the seats weren't even moving. But it totally screws with your senses.
Fred said something that I don't want to let it just slide by because it was very interesting to me. So he just made a comment about how it only had to go fast enough to fool or get past the limits of your visual perception.
The perception, your visual perception, the persistence of vision. The term is called persistence of vision.
So isn't that the thing we're complaining about with digital audio, is that the idea
absolutely
it's only got to technically be fast enough to go past your threshold of hearing in the high frequency. But so would you say that your visual perception differs in that way? Is it less critical?
Absolutely.
What is the number or the reference where your eye changes from a made picture to real life?
There must be 44.1 of video.
There must be a line right there where your mind can't perceive.
That's why there's the term persistence of vision. An ophthalmologist will be able to tell you what that number is. I don't know personally. All I know is that in the United States, it's 60 cycles, 60 frames per second. And in Europe, they get away with 50 frames per second. And if you Ken would attest to this right now, if you turn on your TV and you turn your head really fast while you're watching your TV, do you see the blinking on the TV?
On cheap TVs, yes.
I saw it when I was in Europe. I could definitely discern 50 cycle TV versus 60 cycle TV.
So Kenny,
see it.
Kenny, does your PA seem a little slow?
If I watch,
isn't it like PAL there?
Like I can immediately, I'm sure we all can, but I can immediately tell when something's been shot on movie film versus videotape.
Absolutely.
And when you look at some of these, like especially like TV shows and stuff that were shot in the 70s or 80s on videotape, they look awful, especially worse now. I don't know if it's some kind of generation loss or if it just we didn't realize how bad it is.
It is generation loss, just like you were saying earlier about the audio. Now, when you shoot it, when you scan analog film is real. Analog film is something it's made up of the same thing that the human body is made up of. It's an analog Mother Nature thing. It's not a contrived, made up electronic bit slicer that's slicing it up and spitting it out to you at some determined frame rate.
In good theaters, good video projectors in the good theaters almost look too good. Film has a realism.
That's what I was saying about ShowScan earlier. ShowScan supposedly, I've never got to experience it, but supposedly it gave you a 3D effect without having to wear glasses. It was so real that even though it didn't encompass your persistence of vision like the sphere, I'm going to put $1 in the tip jar because I use the word sphere. But because your visual, it's like the ride at Disneyland, right? What's that thing called where you get on the thing and it puts you out into the screen and
soaring.
It encompasses all of your vision. If you look straight ahead, you can see just like you can see in real life, right? It's a complete immersion of your senses, of your visual senses. Right?
Oh, smell and everything. Yeah, they do it all.
Smell and everything. Exactly. But so visual is different than oral. Oral is it's one of your, 7 senses?
7, I
Five.
for the
think,
human?
or 5. Is it 5?
Five.
Oh,
Is it
Five.
5 or 7? 5 or 7 senses for the human
7
body?
wonders, 5 senses.
Yeah.
Okay.
5 senses.
All right. So those are all human analog perceived. What's the word I'm trying to think of? They're all
Oh, we're playing
they're
password
all
now.
they're all
Okay, I got
human.
it.
They're
all right.
all they're all analog based. They're all chemical based, just like film. Film is a process. It takes a time to make film. You can't just create film instantaneously. There's a process to it. Just like in digital audio, there is a latency associated with digital audio. Always. It doesn't matter how fast you go. 192 kilohertz, everybody says, oh, that's like the best one, and everybody tries to strive for that. It's still bullshit because it's not real. It's still pictures spit out to you at a given frame rate. It's not consistent. Consistent analog human experience.
We are analog beings.
We are analog
I
beings.
keep trying to make that
Exactly.
point. This I've never thought of it in this context before, but my dad retired right after digital cameras became like they were still on the pro market only, but became a thing. And Boeing got him a bunch of digital Nikons and stuff like that. And he went out and shot an assignment, never used it again. And I remember him saying, it's number one, the camera does all the thinking for me. And
The camera does all the thinking for you.
That's not how this should be. I should be the one in control of how this image looks, not the camera. And he said the results didn't match what he could do by himself in the darkroom. They weren't as real.
Wow.
Maybe that's where I get all this crap from.
No, you're absolutely right. That's why I think that's why you and I hit it off when we met, because you and I think alike. We understand there is a human element to life. It's not spit out. It's not spit out at you.
The fake thing. I mean, there's a great article by Jim Gamble where, at the dawn of popular digital audio consoles, and they ask him about it, and he's like, it doesn't matter how fast you get. It doesn't matter how good it gets. In 1,000 years, you're still never going to get there. No matter what technology happens, you can never actually get
as fast as real
life. You can't do it.
You can't do it. That's why we can't go faster than the speed of light.
Exactly.
We can think about it. We can fantasize and want to do all the science fiction shit, but we can't. Our atoms, our molecular structure cannot go faster than the speed of light. We would fly apart.
Well, we don't know that yet because we haven't been able to have that kind of technology. But I've watched Star Trek, and neither have we been able to come back from the dead. So.
Star Trek.
I mean, Star Trek goes faster than the speed of light, man. They go.
No, doesn't work that way.
Well, how could they go to all these galaxies then so fast?
Fred, persistence of vision
is
defined by.
They go warp speed. What are you talking about? They go warp speed. That's faster than light, right?
It's a story.
Doctor Who goes faster.
It's a story.
So all us analog guys, notice in the pretty pictures at the top of your screen how old we all are. I'll bet you if you had a bunch of these college audio kids in the room, they would totally freaking disagree with us.
Exactly.
Well, here's the thing.
They've never
You know
heard
what? Old guys rule.
They've never heard it.
No, the thing is,
They've never been
there's
told the
advantages of each format or method. There's advantages, and you can't deny the advantages of digital audio consoles compared to analog consoles.
But those advantages, however,
I can
not
deny that all day long.
They're not audio advantages.
I can deny that all day long, Ken Newman. I can deny that all day long because in an analog console,
their functionality.
I can mix
one at a time.
And an analog console, I can mix anywhere on the console to anywhere on the console. And a digital console, you have lanes. You cannot combine the original source with anything that's downstream. Otherwise, it's wrong.
And everything is a go-to.
You can't take something that's downstream and pull it back into time. You can't go faster than the speed of light. You just can't do it. Sorry.
Well,
just can't.
different
Fred, I got a
applications.
whoa. I got a
have-
question.
Have different.
I got a
Go ahead.
question. Okay. Sound is only 720 seconds per, what? 720 miles
No,
per
it's
second.
1,100 feet per second at sea level.
Right. So there you go. So you're
That's 70
much
degrees.
slower than the speed of light.
It's like 0.88 milliseconds per foot.
That's irrelevant.
So you're much slower already.
So you have to realize what elevation you are before you're even going to start the conversation.
And humidity
But
and
that-
The reference is at sea level. So if you're playing on the water and half of your sound is going underwater and half of your sound is above the water, that's your analog plane, right? Or is all of your headroom from the water up? Okay, let's assume that the headroom is from the water up. Okay, now you change elevations, everything changes. Your reference point changes based on your height from the water of the planet.
But
Right.
but you're talking about sound in air.
I'm talking about sound in air as opposed to sound in a vacuum,
Hey,
as opposed to
So, but
sound in an
I'm talking
arena,
about
as
the
opposed to sound in a
So
electricity.
should I read
the
into this?
electricity-
Should I
the
read into
electricity
this
that
if you're
makes the
using?
sound.
Should I read into what you're saying is that if you're using digital, you sound like you're underwater?
No, what I'm saying to you is that there's no replacement for the human element, analog, the human chemical structure of humanity. There's no replacement for it. If you change it into digital, you're being given something less.
It's a
If you
facsimile.
take the totality of the start point to the end point, it will consume less volume than an analog source will. Every time.
Digital is the blow up doll version of your girlfriend.
Yeah, the copy. It's the Xerox copy of your driver's license. It's never going to be the same.
The advantages
It's
of digital
never going to
are
be
not
the same as the original.
the advantages of a digital audio console have nothing to do with audio. They have to do
Correct.
with
Correct. It has
Yes.
to do with the
Convenience.
manipulation.
I would agree.
everything but audio.
Correct. Visual things and audio things have nothing to do with each other. They're completely different senses. And when you conflate the two of them and try to relate what you see with what you hear, is absolutely incorrect. You cannot do it. They're different categories. I'm sorry. I've been drinking, but it's
Oh no! Don't say that.
Fred,
Don't say
so
that.
Fred,
You were sounding so
A couple things.
We want to know what you're
sounding so
drinking.
intelligent. I can't believe it. And it has to do with alcohol. Oh my God!
it has to do with alcohol.
This would be fired up Fred.
Couple
We got
things.
fired up Fred today.
I have to
Right.
say,
And
This is
I've been
phenomenal.
doing
Keep drinking.
surgeries. And I've been
Also
doing
known as
surgeries
Dr.
all day.
Fred. Dr. Fred.
I've been doing real life stuff today. I'm not doing sports. I'm talking about people who are laying on an operating table because they have to. I had a 77-year-old guy on the operating table today that had never been to a doctor. He's 77 years old and never been to a doctor.
What's he
What the
doing there?
fuck?
What's happened
What
to
a
him?
lucky son of a bitch.
One lucky son of a bitch. Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what happened to him?
he must have eaten a lot of baked beans.
He's still alive.
yeah.
He didn't die on the operating table.
So what was the procedure that you were doing with him?
We were doing legs. Everything in this conference. Look it up. It's called ncvh.org.
No,
New
thanks. I don't want to know anything about
new
that.
Yeah, really?
cardiovascular.
I'm
It's
not
all
interested in
about
that shit.
It's all about blood flow from your waist down.
And that
Okay,
sounds to
thanks.
me, we're going to go right back to the Rolling Stones. Thank you for the Rolling Stones using a 4K. But what I want to know is, did they contact you about maybe possibly using a gamble as well? Kurt?
Oh no.
Oh,
I-
well,
I'm
thanks, Harry
okay.
Witz.
But he made it sound great. I'll tell you what, though. I mean, with
It did sound good,
four
supposedly.
gates and no outboard, no effects, no compressors,
Really?
and it was incredible. I
It
can't.
You were
depended
there,
on-
right? You were
It
there.
depended on the venue, Kurt. Go out and start searching for some cell phone videos. Look at the different venues, because the couple of venues that I heard from the cell phone, they sucked.
They were horrible. On the floor, dead center. Immediately,
I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the upper. I'm talking about the upper decks. The people who paid almost the same money as the people that are on the floor,
but don't see as well.
It's the fucking Rolling Stones. If you're gonna go, pay for the good seat. Don't be a dumbass.
No. That's the whole point. That's why I love Robert Scoville, is because Robert Scoville gives everybody in the building the same coverage as the people that get to be on the floor in this dead center.
He's great. That's
the point of being. That's the point of being a mixer, in my opinion. I've never done music myself, but I love the man for giving it his best. And Kenny Newman, I love Kenny Newman for giving it his best to make everybody's experience in the theater, and Bruce and anybody else who mixes music. You got to give everybody in the venue the same experience.
Everybody has to have the same goal.
That mandate goes to the systems engineer. The system
That's what I want to learn. I just replied to you.
Awfully good.
You know what?
I want to learn the systems engineer stuff, because you guys have all inspired me.
It's gotten very deep compared to what it was 20 years ago.
I know, but I suck at math. So obviously I'm not good at it.
The latest thing is L-Acoustics software. What's it called? LA Network Manager or whatever.
Yeah.
Or their prediction software is integrating with Vectorworks. Have you seen that? I'm not sure how it works.
I heard that they did.
The fact that it's integrating with Vectorworks, so like, whoa, that blows my mind.
Oh, we do that with Meyer Map. We can do SketchUp or AutoCAD. Have you seen?
It integrates with Vectorworks.
Yeah, you can import the CAD or SketchUp.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not an import thing. I'm pretty sure it works directly with it.
I just love the fact that EAW came up with it first. EAW
came up with what first?
They came up with a reason to give everybody in the venue the same experience.
No, but Meyer's been doing that for quite some time, Fred.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Meyer,
from my perspective, when I walked in and listened to Robert's deal and I walked around his venue, it was the first time I've ever walked around the venue and heard the same thing everywhere I walked.
You know what?
You should check out a Martin MLA system.
In my experience, when the SIM system came out with Myers, and there was the ability to put microphones all over the place and totally tune the system. You know, I did so many shows with Thorny, who was the guy that frickin' invented the whole thing. And it was just such a mind bender that no matter where we were or what boxes we were facing, I mean, the whole system, delay and EQ, just everything just every seat was a perfect seat, you know?
The ability to collect multiple data points and then average them so that you're not tuning the PA for this tiny little point in space at the tip of the microphone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In my opinion, that was the turning point right there. The
exactly.
Well, VDOS had that too.
When I saw Led Zeppelin at the Forum for $6, they sounded great down where my seats were. But when I went up to the concession stand and I walked around, I was like, "What the hell? Why does it sound so much different up here?"
It's probably before line arrays too, right?
I was only 17 years old then.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, back in those days, they didn't put delays up in arenas, or they would have been good spots. I mean, I remember I did a corporate show in the Anaheim arena. And I did it with 850s, 650s, and 300s, and we had delays all over the place. And Alabama was playing on the last night. And when Alabama's front of house guy came in, and they put the mixer next to mine, and he did his quick tune sound check. And I says, "Are we okay with the PA?" And he says, "This is like sitting in front of your home stereo, only way, way bigger." And we had like delays in the house all over the place, and you could walk all around with Alabama was playing, and it was sounded pretty much perfect everywhere. But you know what? When you're doing a tour, until line arrays came along, that was really hard to do because you didn't have enough time to do all of that, you know?
That's right.
That's the problem. Time.
Yep. Right.
I don't care how much somebody wants to give you for your day rate. Unless you have the time to do it properly, it's not going to sound good.
When I did the Toyota rollout of the Celica, 1988 or 89 it was, in the Forum, I had them hang 250 feet of 22-foot velour drape up in the ceiling to calm the damn room down, because we basically divided the arena in half and did a corporate show to half the arena. But the room had a delay time of 4 seconds or some ridiculous thing like that.
Which room? Which room is that, Bruce?
It was the Forum before they did any treatment to it.
Forum. Yeah, the Forum.
The Forum
That's
is
where,
dead
that's where I
now.
saw
It's very dead
Led
now.
Zeppelin for $6. I saw Led Zeppelin in the Forum for $6.
And I'll bet you couldn't even tell what song they were playing, right?
No, in my seat, I was all the way in the back. I was against the back wall, so I didn't have to listen to the slapback. So I sat.
Right.
I was dead level with the stage, all the way at the back, and so I only had the seats behind me and up for that reverb time. But
The biggest
when I
do me a
got up,
favor.
when I got up and I
Back in
walked
those days.
around, when I got
Hey,
up
Fred,
and I walked around,
I need you to do something for me. I need you to do something for me.
what's
I want
that?
you to say, "Hey, you kids, get off my lawn." Please, just say that.
Hey, you
once.
kids, get off my lawn.
So two things are occurring to me. One,
Actually, no, I'm going
I
to take
want
that
whatever
back
Fred's drinking.
because I loved it when my neighbors' kids came and played on my AstroTurf lawn. Once I took out my tree and I took out all my grass and I put out we put out fake grass with my neighbor because I live in a really nice neighborhood.
As
and
long as
I'm
they played
friends
where the
with all
dog
of my
peed.
neighbors. I'm not one of those people that's going to say, "Hey, you get off my lawn," because I loved when those people got to come. It's part of life. It's part of having fun and being a person.
All right, I want to hear the question we had for Kurt, because Kurt's been in the live music business for a long time, and all of this relates. We're all related in such a wonderful way. It's so cool.
That's
Go
why
ahead,
this
Kurt.
group works.
I just
two
I
things
love
occur
this.
to me. Two things occur to me. One, I want whatever Fred's drinking. And the second one is that, so as much of an analog devotee as I am, I think if I was in the operating room and I saw them wheel in analog operating equipment, I'd be looking for digital.
Well, can I change the subject 1 second? How?
No.
only for 1 second. Only for 1 second.
No. No, go ahead, Greg.
That's good.
I want to ask.
What are you
Kurt,
drinking, Kurt?
How did the 24 LFCs do in Bend?
What's the question? What?
How the new 24s do in Bend? Your subwoofers. It's the first time you've had them out, right?
Yeah, I got a show Friday. But we used them last time, and they were great. They're light.
I mean, you noticed the difference or not?
Yes, I mean they're much more coherent and smooth below about 40 hertz. So the ultra low stuff is exactly like the stuff above it, and we were drawing with 24 Panthers and 12 2100s plus front fills and all that stuff. 3-phase distro at 208. We're drawing on peaks maybe 28 amps total per leg.
Wow.
To do 10,000 people. You could almost run the PA off of 3 wall outlets if you really wanted to.
Wow.
Wow.
Have you guys experienced balanced power yet? The thing that that they do for the award shows.
I love balanced power.
I wish I knew more about that. That just sounds so intriguing.
I love balanced
I'll
power.
just make it up. It's all right.
Well, with Meyer at 208, there is no neutral. It's hot ground. So
oh, really?
Whatever noise issues might possibly get into your neutral these days, which is way less now with everything being LED than it used to be with conventional dimmers that were dumping all the crap to the neutral. So part of that is
it wasn't just the neutral, it was the air.
Well, but that element is kind of not there as much, but the noise
that used to fuck up all the wireless mics.
Yeah, the noise.
Wouldn't you take your
Kurt,
separate power though? Wouldn't you get a separate power system?
Yes, but back in the hotel ballroom convention days, there was no, all the neutrals and grounds were bonded anyway. So the dimmer racks are dumping into the neutral of the building.
We built 3 transformers to run the video and the audio off of, to be able to run everything off the same power and isolate the audio and the video. We built 75 kVA.
You have to get yourself away from the building. Exactly.
Yeah,
because everything was bonded.
Right.
Well,
But now the new lighting systems with all the LED stuff. I mean, we've minimized power now because there's no dimmers. right? And I've been on with lighting systems now, and it's been fine.
Yeah, but most
know?
big tours.
So,
are free and
but
generated.
if you really want to have clean electricity, just come to Europe. I mean, like here in England, oh, it's so happening. It's like, and you know what their feeder? It's that big for an entire sound system. Nothing,
power's
because it's
clean.
higher
because
voltage.
because they run everything at 220
Well, 240, yeah. So I
or
mean, but
240, right? Whatever.
the wall voltage is 240, and so that means that their
240.
feeder is 480 or something, and so therefore it's little wires relative to us. There's no 4-aught in
exactly.
England.
No, there's
So
no,
you're in Europe
yeah.
right now, Ken? You're in Europe?
You're in grand old England, right, Ken?
Yeah, I'm in England. Yeah.
Are you working
Now,
with
how are the shows going? How are the shows going?
Well,
as far as attendance?
we canceled 2 nights ago because he had a sore throat. But then he came back last night and did a show, and then he came back tonight and did a show. But and then they're selling; it's all sold out, and the people are nuts. The people go crazy for him. You'd think he was the Beatles or something.
Did you bring your console or just get the same thing over there?
Got the same thing over there, but I have my outboard rack and my stuff.
Which is the supporting tour company that you're using over there? Is it Major Tom?
The best company in the world, Solotech.
I heard they were really good.
It's so great. It's so
don't they have a division in Canada?
Well, that's their main thing is Canada.
Okay, but, I've worked with them before. Yeah,
in Vegas and Nashville, and they're all over England. Because they bought up a whole bunch of other sound companies in England. But it's just a great company. I mean, wow, the warehouse we worked in to put the stuff together was ginormous and had tons of stuff, just stuff everywhere.
Where was this warehouse? Where was it in London?
No, Solihull. I don't even know how
was
to say
it England?
Correctly.
Soho.
Now, don't you have
England.
a friend over there that you brought into the show during COVID? I think his name was Martin.
Well, Martin. Well, yeah, right. Martin is the guy from Solotech now. He used to be with Capital, but Capital got purchased by Solotech. So now he's with Solotech. Go. Yeah, but he was at the. He came to our show tonight. He was cool.
I just heard.
Tell him I say hello. Tell him we all say hello.
Sarah McLaughlin played here in Bend last night, and I'm here a little early for other reasons, and so we went and checked it out. Solotech rig sounded great. Great performance. It was the new.
What kind of speaker?
It was the new L Acoustics, the one that you can't change the angle.
Oh, the big box. The big box. Yeah.
Sounded great. They had a Quantum out front, and great mix, everything. I still kind of had that weird digital brick wall that you can't hear through kind of vibe, but the balance, all of the mixing was excellent.
I got a question.
Isn't it her husband that mixes, or has something to do with her sound?
You might be thinking of Martina McBride, but Sarah McLaughlin, I don't know, could be.
So, Kurt, is it
Martina McBride?
Is it limiting at the top of the console? Is that what you're hearing? Is that what I'm?
No, it's digital versus analog.
Hearing digital.
Right,
it's digital versus analog.
Right, but when
does
that start to happen, though? That's what I need to know. What I was wondering. When do you start to feel that?
It always.
Oh, always. Any volume level? Any?
It doesn't matter.
It's the process of the way it functions in my ears. I just hear it that way. The guy's mix was stellar. It was an amazing mix. It sounded great. He did.
It didn't breathe, right? So the analog breathes.
Not 3-dimensional. You can't hear through it.
Yeah, but Solotech has these great hoodies, man.
Let's see.
Beautiful.
I got nothing bad to say.
Put it on. Give us a little, like put it on.
A little fashion show.
A little fashion show.
I have my other hoodie on. But this one is really nice. Really nice.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Are you in a theater?
It's almost as nice as the one I got from Capital Sound years ago.
Are you in a theater?
Yeah, the Palladium.
And is that
Palladium?
What's the rig in there?
World famous Palladium.
Yeah.
And it's a Solotech rig. It's all L Acoustics, and it's a tough room to cover evenly. I'll tell you honestly, but it's as even as it can be. I'm sure.
How many seats?
It's about 2,000 or 2,500 or something, isn't it? I don't really know.
So Kenny, I got a question for you.
Kenny, I got a
question for you.
Yeah.
How do you know for sure?
Of what?
The coverage.
Oh, well, I walk around during sound check.
So you don't put
And
on
then
any microphones.
No, and then the system guy, he walks around during sound check also, or during show.
With his iPad?
With his tablet that controls the system.
I got a question for you about the mic, though. So since you're in Europe and centimeters are shorter than inches, does that mean that he's holding it a little closer to his mouth and making your life better?
I wish. Yeah. He's 5 centimeters instead of 2.5 inches.
Yeah,
Yeah. There you go.
I think that took
I thought the 50 hertz thing was going to slow the PA down a little bit.
He held the mic a little closer for about a minute, and then he gave up on that.
You don't have a real B3, do you? Is there a real B3 in the band?
No.
Because you'd have to tune everybody down a half a step.
Well, yeah. If you didn't have the 50 hertz B3.
Yeah.
But speaking of 50 hertz, I had to get a different UPS because the UPS that I previously had was not capable of working at 50 hertz. So OSA had to get me a UPS that was capable of working at 50 hertz.
Wait. Back up. I missed that. What did you say?
It's OSA, who provides the equipment that we bring from the US. It has a UPS in the rack to UPS the gear. And the previous UPS did not work at 50 hertz. It only worked at 60 hertz. So they had to replace it with one that worked at 50 or 60 hertz.
So when they plugged it in, did it get really hot and stupid?
No, it just didn't put out any electricity.
Didn't put out anything at all?
No, because I know that because I brought it, a couple trips ago. I brought it with me and then plugged it in, turned it on, nothing came out. So I had to bypass it and go without.
Interesting.
But this time they caught up and they got me a 50 hertz UPS.
That's surprising.
I'll tell you what, the power system is system here is so much better. Right?
Yeah, most power supplies will do or. They will
do but the UPS is a different story. It's charging a battery constantly.
No, it's not. It's not
DC
different.
to AC conversion and recharging simultaneously.
Yeah, apparently there's something different about it, Fred, because it's difficult to find a UPS that's capable of 50 hertz that was small enough to fit in my rack. I know that.
Well, that's the problem.
But once we found it, it's great.
That's the problem. Is the size of the device? Because the very first time I went to Europe, I took one of those travel converters and I plugged it in the wall, and about 20 minutes later, it caught on fire. Because it wasn't 50, 60 hertz related.
So these days, I have all my personal electronics plugged into, American style wiring, but it's doing 240 volts on American style wiring.
Well, now
everything works. Everything works.
No. It was
100 to 240.
It was a 110 volt outlet. It was just at 50 hertz instead of 60 hertz.
That doesn't bother any of the modern electronics stuff.
Well, of course,
because everything has power switching.
It bother the modern electronics. I'm 65 years old, dude.
Yeah.
So in my experience,
but, I mean, there was a time when it was a problem. However,
it was a problem.
I bring this clock with me because it runs 50 hertz. Because if I bring my US based clock, it will not keep correct time because it's a 60 hertz.
That is correct.
In
That's the problem with having a solar system. All the people in the world that are dealing with this whole EV thing, and you have a solar system on your house, it's not necessarily synced to the line voltage on the inside. It's synced to the line voltage when it gives back to the people that you're doing the net metering with. But on the inside of your house, your clocks may not necessarily run at the right time.
No.
Okay.
I think Fred needs another drink.
In other words,
so the question:
the shin bone is connected to the hip bone, and
So Fred, here's the real question: Why is the U.S. 60 hertz when the rest of the world, or much of the rest of the world, is 50 hertz? What?
I used
why
to know
did-
that
why-
answer.
Because
Nikolai
of persistence,
Tesla.
because of persistence of vision. Because the
Matrix, baby. It's the Matrix.
Because of the never twice. What is that? What is it called? NTSC, the never twice the same color system. Never twice the same color, NTSC. What we subscribe to. We decided that 60 cycles was a more pleasing visual experience than a 50 cycles. Again, if you were to watch your TV and you take your head and you just go like this, any TV in Europe, and you go like this to your TV, you're going to see the horizontal blanking.
Don't they shoot at PAL though?
I almost guarantee
Isn't it
that you're
PAL?
going to do that as an analog human being. You were going to be able to see a problem with your TV when you just take your head and go like this. All you have to do is go like this.
Fred, persistence of vision defined by the College of American College of Ophthalmology is 1/16th of a second.
1/16th.
I did. Yes.
Wow, that's
Okay.
that's interesting.
But that's
All
not
right, and
always.
also
That's not always
answer-
true. Everybody's
question.
experience in life is different. Human relationships, human experience is different for every human being on the planet, I believe.
On that note, I found that 50 was fine, but at 57, everything hurts.
That,
That's right. 57.
And
Everything
at
hurts.
60, it's better.
But bum.
Yeah. Hey,
Did
just
Jan
remember this,
send you
Fred.
that joke in the chat? That sounds
No. I don't
that
chat.
sounds like a Jan joke.
No,
It really
Hey,
does.
just remember this: the hand
I'm on
is
my
quicker
phone,
than
so
the
I
eye.
don't get to see the chat.
Yeah.
So,
the
all right,
hand
so
is
riddle
quicker
me
than the eye,
this, Fred.
folks.
Why did the U.S. decide that 120 volts was better than 200?
Because they could. I don't know.
This
I don't
is
know.
back
I
in
wasn't there.
back in Edison time.
What are you asking me about? Like shit, like the Bible. I wasn't there. I didn't
I
experience it.
thought maybe you knew because you knew.
No, I don't
about
know.
60 hertz.
I don't know,
It goes
but I was
back to
taught.
the AC/DC
I was taught in school. I was taught in school about mathematics, which I suck at, by the way. So I probably can't be a system engineer, but I want to be a system engineer because it's something that I've never done in life.
now the
I
computer.
think I would be good.
Yeah, the
at
computer does it all. You just need to know how to run the program.
it. All you need to do is know how to run the program.
And you got to be
That's why
and
I
you
think
and
that I
you
would be good at doing
and you got to be a
systems engineering.
networking goon too, which is my big weakness.
But you have to
I'm
know
okay at
how
networking.
to know how to fudge things or move things around in such a way.
No, you don't fudge
because like
things.
the
In the
guy,
analog
the guy
world,
that we
you don't fudge things. Everything is absolute.
I'm telling you, there are better and worse system techs, and that's
Sorry,
based on
I
what
need to
they
go
know
away
how
for a
to.
second.
They know
I
how
need to
to.
stop an alarm. I
They
need to
know
stop
they
an alarm.
know how to. The better system techs know how to make things work better than the not as good.
Yeah,
system
split the
techs.
hairs just to the left instead of just to the right, and it makes all the difference in the world. And
That's true.
it's a feeling, it's an experience too.
It's like when you
Yeah.
adjust. It's like when you adjust the light dimmer on the console, and then you ask the lady if it sounds better now.
Well,
That's
You know
fine.
what
more
I'm really good at?
when you're talking about an entire sound system in an arena or something, it can make really differences from subtle changes.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't.
For sure.
I don't know. I don't know.
There-
All I know is that I suck at math, but I think that I could be a systems engineer. I think I could do it.
Well, you have a calculator, right, Fred?
No.
You know when math comes in really handy when you don't have enough time and you're throwing a rig together and you got to get out there and make the rig coherent and sound right. Then I whip out my laser pointer and my phone and I start doing the math. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, we're damn close now.
Well, it blows
so-
my mind
so-
how math is really controlling of everything.
Apparently, that is something that is required to do something correctly. If you don't
helps
do it
if you-
correctly, then
helps if you
the
understand
venue
it.
doesn't sound even.
Well, your
The
computer will
part
tell
of
you
the-
all that.
One of the biggest challenges
What
about being a
computer?
system tech
What computer?
is,
Well,
I'm supposed to be the starting point for the computer.
Well, technically, there's two programs. There's going to be your program that controls your amplifiers and does all your line array calculations, and then there's going to be smart.
But that's gain.
Well, that's a whole lot. No, not just gain, man. There's a whole lot more to it than that.
That's just gain.
No, it's not. It's not.
Yes,
Believe
it
me.
is.
No, it's not. How do you know what
Okay.
angles to put the speakers at? It's all about
That's
distance.
not what I'm talking about.
Well, that program does all of that.
Electrical, you said the word electrical. From
It's a
electrical
computer.
standpoint, it's all about gain. If you're talking about the space that the air and the sound
but that
travels
program
through,
does
1100
all of
feet
that.
per second at sea level, and you're taking into account the fact that you're not at sea level anymore, and you're providing coverage to a venue that starts at a point from the front of the speaker system to the point where the people experience the music, there's a difference.
Well, I think you should.
I got news for you.
Sign up.
He's not going to get it.
I don't know. I'm a
So,
stupid.
Fred, if you want to be a
I do
system
sports
tech,
for a living, and I do stupid shit for a living. I have these speakers that are right here every day.
Right.
I don't get to do long throw.
Right. There's a whole technology involved in
There's a
that.
whole
And
technology.
what you know is the base, and that's good. But there's way more to it than that. The line arrays changed everything.
Which is why I think that
line array is a total different physics.
Correct. I sucked at physics. I failed at physics.
But the program will tell you what you need to know.
All that shit. But I would like to learn it from my friends. I would like to not be judged. I would like to be around people that could teach me how to do it properly.
so then you should go to L-Acoustics line array school.
Yeah,
and
take this class.
That'll be your starting point. They have classes.
Do you know how
And,
they
you
still
know, you
charge
wanna
you
go
for it if you don't own the system? Because I took the first 2 levels of classes, but it cost me like $500. And I know they give it away if you own a system.
The other class you should look into taking, Fred, is what's the Meyer training called these days, Kurt? It used to be called the sim training, but
they break up into different ones, but there's a really great one I sent a bunch of my guys to. That's a portable systems deployment thing, and they cover Map 3D, which is the prediction software, and they cover Galaxy and Compass, which is the software to control. Galaxy is the hardware device that controls the PA.
Fred, that would be good for you to get an overall.
Meyer, they teach them a lot, and they're not expensive.
Yeah.
And then one's coming up right now at Infocom.
I have a certificate for the ANU system. I went to a 2-day class at Arizona State University for the ANU system, the same system that Robert Scoville used to use with Tom Petty.
It's the EAW flat array thing.
And that system showed me what I could hear with my ears from the point that I was listening from. The technology, the speaker technology today is so superior to what I heard when I saw Led Zeppelin at the Forum for $6. When I saw Led Zeppelin at the Forum for $6, it was just like, okay, well, you hear it where I was sitting, it sounded great. But then when I got up and I walked around the venue, it sounded different. But in today's world, people, I think, should be able to experience the same thing everywhere in the venue. You as a front of house person need to rely on your system tech to be able to give complete coverage to all the people who have paid to be there.
And the same fidelity. Coverage is one thing, and fidelity is a different ballgame.
That's the ultimate goal. If you can walk away feeling good about yourself, knowing that today you gave everybody the same experience, I think that you did a good job. I think that you can be happy with yourself. You can be happy with what you did for being fucked up like I am right now.
Yeah. Well,
so the only thing is, can I say, the only thing is that the acoustic of a room stay the same. So
unless
if you go to
it's
the
a
back
festival,
corner,
but every room is different. You have
that's correct. But if you go to the,
you have to think about every room that you're going to before you get there.
And you know what?
And
You can EQ the piss out of your rig in an empty arena, and the minute the sun goes down and the people come in the arena, it all fucking changes.
But that's the
right.
point. That's
Right.
the
You can go
point.
to the back corner and the bottom end could
you
be
need to
20 dB
know
up.
what all of those bags of water are going to absorb.
Yep, and
So
that's
that when they
that's
get so that
experience.
when they get there, it sounds good to them.
But I
And
can
just
say for
remember-
a fact, having been in this one arena that is, thank God, is blown up, no matter how much horizontal array gear that you've had or how much vertical line arrays that you have, there is no sound system in the world that could ever make the Kingdom sound any better than
Not even when McCartney spent all that money and time putting treatment in. So Fred, Sim.
So Greg,
stands
I got to back up for a second. The Kingdom was in Seattle.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so it's a bad venue.
Well, it's
Yeah.
That's only
just
one-
remember
that's
this.
only-
Hey,
that's
hey, I
only
gotta
one-
stop you guys. Just
wait.
gotta remember
Why
this,
is it a
Fred, no
bad
matter
venue just
what.
because it's in Seattle? Hold
Remember
on.
this, Fred. No matter what if you don't remember anything else from today, just remember the thigh bone is connected to the hip bone, and if you got that, you've got a lot out of the show today.
The genesis
You know?
of SIM means source independent measurement. The reason they created SIM was to deal with how things change when the bags of water all walk in. The reason SIM was created was to stop using pink or white noise and third octave analysis and to actually use music as the test source. You can't leave a bunch of pink noise through the
Right.
with the audience in there.
The layman's version of SIM is smart.
Right, but all of them come from
SIM.
Bob McCarthy and Thorny trying to solve the problem for the Grateful Dead, where they were like, okay, it sounds totally different when we EQ the PA and there's nobody here.
Yeah.
And the temperature and humidity changes. So the whole genesis of the thing was to create a measurement platform that could be used in the presence of an audience without them knowing. You're using music as the test source.
Right.
Source independent measurement. That's what it means. That's where it came from.
It's amazing.
In order to continually measure the system and it's not even measuring the system. It's measuring the combination of the system and the space, the environment together. You're not looking at the system. You're not looking at the environment. You're looking at how the system functions within the environment. That's what the transfer function is telling you. And you can watch it change as the temperature and humidity go up or down, indoors or outdoors, with or without an audience, as the weather changes, as the sun goes up, as the sun goes down.
Based on sea level.
And
based on wherever you are.
You have a reference point.
Your reference is wherever you started.
It adapts to whatever environment you're in.
Yes.
Correct. But you have a reference point. The reference point is at sea level. For everything. For everything is defined at sea level.
And with
I think the reference
but
point
if you're in Denver, sea level means nothing.
Right.
So I'm not completely stupid, but I do know
not necessarily.
I do know that there's a reference point.
Kurt, I have a question for you. So Kurt, Myers did this really cool thing, and I've never actually used it, and I was wondering if it's as accurate, and that if you use it, they have a probe that will track the temperature and humidity in the room and shift the PA based on any given moment.
Yes,
that's true.
You know what that is? You know what that is? That sounds like one of those auto. That sounds like one of those auto EQ, one of those auto, not just EQ, parametric EQ feedback eliminators before you could adjust the parameters of that thing.
Okay,
Kurt,
so that's
talk
not
to me, babe.
at all the case. RMS has absolutely nothing to do with that. RMS is a data monitoring system that's now.
Yeah, but doesn't it monitor the humidity?
No, RMS is only. Well, RMS has now been replaced with Nebra, but RMS and any of the data feedback information in Meyer architecture gives you voice coil temperature, how far away you are from amplifier headroom, all that. It gives you data. It has nothing to do with the environment or the tuning or all that. It's a way of looking at.
No, but doesn't it monitor? Doesn't it
isn't
also
there
give you the humidity in the box as well?
RMS
I thought it did.
Nothing to do with how the audio is. It only gives you data about the speaker mechanically and physically.
So there is no
So-
probe that you
no,
put in front of house that will.
There is, but it's a whole different thing.
Okay, that's what I don't know.
Probe.
So that's why I'm asking you.
Probe, you can either use a probe or a standalone temperature and humidity measurement device, which is what I use. That device you set out there in front of house and it will sense temperature and humidity, and there are atmospheric compensation filters built into Galaxy and prior to that Galileo. So they are in there. They are not automatically employed.
Implemented, right.
In no way does the computer ever change anything about the atmospheric compensation, because
it allows you
Meyer was
to,
like,
though, right?
that's going to be a runaway nightmare. So you take that data and you can input it, and you can also create a percentage to which you're going to apply that data. If you apply that data at 100%, your PA is going to sound awful.
It's going to sound
Can
awful.
you-
Exactly.
Can you
It's going to
see
sound
that on?
awful.
Can you see the? Can you track it on a screen so you can see what it's doing and
It
decide?
doesn't display
It
the
doesn't.
filters on the trace. It doesn't, you can't watch it change it. You can hear it though. So what I do as a matter of course, especially outdoors where headliner sound checks at 11 or 12 and goes on at 9 p.m. and everything is different about the temperature and humidity.
Oh man.
So I will, in those cases, and also in festivals, my rule of thumb, if I ever update it during the set, but I will update it between every set change. So what you get from that is that the PA remains incredibly consistent as far as high frequency throw, low mid characteristics, because as the humidity flips, then all of that stuff goes the other way.
Yep.
And you implement it slowly over the course of the day at about a 25% to 50% maximum ratio of how far you do it. They also have a distance compensation filter that functions in the same way. If you use 100% of it, you're going to blow up your high frequency drivers. If you use 10% of it, you're going to get better far field high frequency response. But you've got to be judicious in how you do it. And if you don't update, like if you tune the PA at 9 a.m. and you're
going to chase it all night long, right?
If you update it at 6 p.m. and you haven't touched it, you're going to hear a giant jump. If you update it a little bit at a time as the day goes by, and you just type in temperature and humidity, and an hour later you type in the current temperature and humidity updated. If you change it gradually all day long, nobody notices it, and it stays consistent all day long. If you don't touch it until 9 p.m. and you tune the PA at 9 p.m., you hear a major shift in the way things perform.
Right. Yeah, I've never.
No way is it automatic.
The reason why I asked is I knew of this, but I never knew anything about it, nor would I know anyone that used it. So I was hoping that you had experience with this thing, because I needed
it for 20 years.
I think that's so cool.
It is very cool, isn't it?
It's very cool.
I would turn it off. If it was automatic, I'd defeat it. There's no way I want to feedback.
Because I'll tell you, the two hardest things for me, especially when I do entertainment, is outside and in a tent. Because, I've done a lot of shows on the deck of the aircraft carrier where we start the show and it's 6 o'clock in the daylight, and we end the show and it's like midnight, and you work so hard to chase the PA all night long, it kind of leaves out the artistic stuff because you're just constantly chasing the PA. And every time the breeze blows, the high end changes,
And you know what? You're at sea level.
Well, if I'm on an aircraft. But Fred,
guess what?
It doesn't matter.
It should always be the same, right?
Fred, in Denver, it's not going to act the same in Denver.
It's not going to be the same.
Frequency will be different.
Even though it's at sea level, it's not
the Meyer,
the same.
Specific to Meyer, but I'm sure that other manufacturers have something like this. In the Meyer software and hardware and interface, you have different altitude settings. You can tell the PA what altitude it is starting at.
Oh, that's cool.
But look at what Bruce is dealing with. He's on an aircraft carrier. He's at sea level.
At that show,
he's at sea level. So again,
he's about 60 feet above sea level, actually.
The analog experience of being a human being and dealing with the Earth as Mother Nature, you're dealing with the air and how it changes during the day. He's at sea level.
What if he was on a submarine?
But if I was in Denver, it would be different.
If you're in a submarine, it's completely different. But look at what Bruce is talking about.
And it's sonar, Jan.
To me, that's fascinating. To me, that's absolutely fascinating.
So, excuse me, Fred. I'm sorry, I must interrupt, but two things. I'm sure this is going to be one of the best viewed episodes ever. because Fred is really but he is really.
Oh, my Fred, you're way.
Kenny,
Oh,
Kenny,
yeah,
so
Kenny, you need to get some sleep, Kenny.
Second of all, I really gotta go.
I'm
It's
learning from my.
Okay.
I'm learning
really,
from my friend.
really great stuff, Fred.
The whole
really
point
great stuff, Fred.
The whole point of this Zoom meeting
Good night,
is to learn.
Have a good
Is to learn and talk
Okay.
about this
Hey,
stuff.
Kenny, I love you, man. Love you. Thanks for coming.
Hey, babe, dream about me.
All right, listen, guys, we're going to say goodbye to the audience right now. We're going to stay in the room. To quote Lloyd Bridges,
Lloyd
I picked the wrong
Bridges.
day to quit drinking. I picked the wrong day to quit drinking.
Bridges. Wow.
Lloyd Bridges. Wow. Oh my God. Sea Hunt.
Well, I was thinking an airplane when he said, but yeah, it's just so funny in that respect. It's like, hey, I quit the wrong day to quit drinking. That's about it.
This is very funny.
But
Yeah,
Fred, you said a couple of things today that reflect my life, and then somebody mentioned the Kingdom, and you mentioned Led Zeppelin. And that day, we didn't do the form, but
the reason I mentioned Led Zeppelin was because Kurt Hare posted a video about Led Zeppelin, and I watched it just before we went live. And it was from the O2 Arena where I did a boxing event. I was in England doing a boxing event with Mike Tyson in that same venue where the Led Zeppelin played. And it's relevant to me because I was doing a sporting event. I wasn't doing a music event. I was doing a sporting event.
And
so,
O2,
just an FYI, in case you don't know,
that much better than the Kingdom.
Yeah. So the Kingdom, I was at the Kingdom, and I was at the Pontiac Stadium with Led Zeppelin. My very first touring gig was with Led Zeppelin doing video production back in the early 70s. I believe it was 77.
It was 77. Yeah, the
I believe it was 77. My very first touring gig was with Led Zeppelin, and I was doing the video production, and that's how I know about the Ida 4 projectors. So,
So you got you provided the rainbow that I watched.
Yes, probably so.
You probably provided the rainbow that I watched. I was in the audience.
Yeah. Yep. And just to be clear, they stiffed us. They did not pay their bill.
Jeez.
That was Shoko was doing the sound then.
So
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, they were. Yep. And
anyway, listen, guys.
I'm sorry that happened to you, Jan, because that was a
no.
It
was one of the best experiences of my life.
I'm sorry.
I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you about it. Be on the road with Led Zeppelin, the only American. We were the only Americans.
Once we go offline, you can explain the situation.
Oh yeah, an experience that I will never forget, and I will always be able to.
So people need to come and join the Zoom meeting and be part of the production. Be part of the part of the conversation. I'm going to promote Jan right now because if you were in here and you could actually speak rather than just being a fly on the wall and listening to all of us.
That's absolutely correct.
You could come in and join all of us.
We're going bye-bye. We're going bye-bye social media. Just remember, click the thumbs up. Let everybody know you love this show. Come and join us next week. We'll be here for 211. Same time, same place. Welcome and thank you. Remember, everything you heard today is an opinion, especially that about the bags of water. That was completely.
That was great. Thank you, Kurt.
Bye, everybody out there in showbiz. All right, we'll stop you. And we are off the air.